Hello. A subject close to my heart and that has always been a part of my life in some way, shape, or form in the last 15 years is scouting. Now, scouting has been in the news quite a bit recently because it's been reported over and over again that the Boy Scouts of America have covered up scouting allegations of abuse in scouting. And if you read an article by the LA Times that was in October, it does say that there have been over 3,100 cases reported throughout the country on about young Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts being molested by their scout leaders. Having said that, and being a scout leader myself, I can say that without a doubt, they do screen. Unfortunately, just like anything, sometimes people fall through the cracks and they abuse the privileges, or they pass the screening and they've never gotten caught abusing children before. Just a quick overview of scouting and all the benefits that come with it is not only is it the camaraderie and learning how to be in the outdoors and straight up volunteerism, being a good person and enhancing the qualities that parents already instill in their children, but just a quick overview from scoutstuff.org and scoutingaround.org of 100 boys that join scouting, only one will really ever appear before a juvenile court. Over half will join the military, be leaders in their communities, continue in volunteerism, will value their, if they happen to make Eagle Scout, which is the highest award in scouting. If they happen to make that, they will value that over their college degree. If you were to take two of the same people, exact same credentials, up for a job, the one that's an Eagle Scout is going to get it. And the reason for being is because after you hit and attain certain rank and you're eligible to receive your Eagle, it takes quite a bit of work and dedication. A teenage boy interested in girls and working and driving their car and their studies and their sports has to make time to scout and to earn those merit badges, and they're not easy. My son is 15 and he has been a scout since he was in first grade, and of the 40 or so that were in his Cub Scout troop probably 10 of them are still in it overall. After all these years, he earned his Arrow of Light in Cub Scouting and continued on into Boy Scouts. He is now he is a chaplain aide in his Boy Scout troop that has been around for almost 80 years. He is also has been a den chief in his Cub Scout pack, which is now no longer in service. He is he was an assistant scout leader. No, what was he? I don't know, but he just became something else. They just have all these titles, and of course I should know a little bit more about that. But my focus has always been Cub Scouting. I continued doing Cub Scouts while he was in Boy Scouts, and now he is now I know he's the patrol leader. He was the assistant patrol leader, and now he's the patrol leader. He just made that rank. He only has 3 badges till he's an Eagle, and he's 15. And just a quick overview, if you can see this, okay, it actually even says one scout will enter clergy as a result of his scouting relationships. 2 out of 100 kids that are in scouting, they would do all these things, and only 2 out of that 100 will become Eagles. That's a pretty tough number. I think that if kids got more support and didn't think that scouting was lame or molestation charges didn't come up, or kids were strong enough to stand up for themselves and their beliefs, I think that scouting would continue to do all the good works that it has done. And that being said, I also think that scouting produces quite a few leaders. I mean, 85% of the FBI have been scouts. 26% of astronauts have been scouts. Many business leaders have been scouts. Politicians. I think that taking those values and continuing on and growing is not a bad thing. And I'd like to close out with a special story. And I hope that I convince everyone that scouting is not a bad thing, and I urge people to get involved in it and to be there with their children and to set a good example and not rely on other people to teach your kids about these things. It's a family thing, and I think that if people were more aware and not dropping children off, that molestation charges would not have occurred as much as they would have, because there would have been more adult supervision instead of the few that actually took on the leadership roles. But I'd like to close out with a very special story that I tell all the time. Probably about 5 years ago, when my son was a Cub Scout, he and several of his friends, I had taken them to camp for a week. It was day camp, and they had to do this game when they were doing sports. And they had to line up, separate into 2 teams and line up according to their birth dates, but they could not speak in doing so. And I was just standing there with some parents. I already knew how they were going to do it, and I was just waiting for them to catch on. And one of my boys, he was quite an overachiever in scouting, and he just all of a sudden he just snapped his fingers really quick. 5th grader, 6th grader. And he just snapped his fingers and started holding up his fingers to indicate what birthday he was. And then he pointed at the next kid to find out when his birthday was, and he started lining them up. And as soon as he did that, one of my other boys had caught on to what he was doing, and they lined everybody up and got everybody ready to go to play the game. And that's just an example of thinking outside the box and taking into account what you've learned, and that if you are an excellent role model and you pass that down to the children in your life and the people that you come in contact with, this world would be a much better place. Thank you for listening to my speech. Jennifer Humphrey.